Breaking news is that Pellegrini has been sacked by West Ham. He is the 6th casualty in the Premier League season already at this point. Of course, after 7 defeats in their last 9 Premier League games, 1 point above the relegation zone. Were you surprised that he lasted this long, Dave?
No, I think it's the timing to do it now, just as you're about to go into a transfer window. That kind of makes sense for me. You know, if you're not backing your manager, then you can't let him go into a transfer window and spend a load of money. So I dare say it's going to be the usual suspects in the frame to replace him.
But the talk of his sacking has been around for, I think, quite a few months now. So a lot of fans have been calling for more results, which unfortunately didn't turn around. So what is happening with West Ham at the minute, Michael?
Well, it's just been a fall from disaster. They were sitting 4th after, what, eight matches? Looking very, very a strong, accomplished team. You know, the players that are in there, you expect them to be that mid-table, if not in the top half. And it has just been absolutely terrible. The players haven't been performing, the results haven't been coming. And when the fans turned, something had to be done. So the timing now, like Dave said, I think is perfect. They've got a chance to save themselves. And would you want the job? They've gone through a few
Timing is perfect. I don't think any one of us was surprised to hear the news.
No, I think West Ham have been quite patient with him, in actual fact. I think they could have pulled the trigger a little bit earlier this season, but I think they've given him a bit more time. And you know, when you've appointed your head coach, you know, if he doesn't deliver, it reflects on you a little bit, doesn't it? You know, the decision maker, the chief executive, the owner of the club, whoever made that decision to go for Pellegrini, you know, they have to hold their hands up and say, well, we got it wrong, didn't we? Because he hasn't done what's expected. And West Ham spent a lot of money. You know, they don't mess around particularly. They have invested heavily. They have backed Pellegrini. And it hasn't worked out.
Do you think that win against Chelsea bought him a little bit more time? I think that was in November.
Results do, of course. Yeah, of course. And the most recent one, a defeat, and that's the final nail in the coffin.
So that's the thing. We talk about Manuel Pellegrini. We're talking about a man who has won the Premier League with Manchester City. Why couldn't he hack it at West Ham, you think?
For me, West Ham's a funny club. I'm not sure what their fans necessarily expect from them. It seems to me that nothing ever seems good enough, really, for a lot of them. Moved into a big stadium, spent some money. It's been a little bit of an upheaval, but for me, it's the same West Ham. I think you can have any manager you want in there, and it's just going to be the same kind of club as it always is.
What are they looking for in the manager then? I don't know.
Well, what you've just said there, I used to have a fear factor when it was Upton Park. It was so close. I know times change. You need a bigger stadium. West Ham have not adapted that stadium. The fans still haven't adapted. I mean, their main hardcore people were segregated to different places. There's something more going on than just the manager. There's something that they've got to sort out with this football club quickly.
The truth is, it's not a football stadium. It was built as an Olympic athletic stadium, and they tried to convert it into a football stadium. But you cannot blame the stadium for where West Ham are in the league.
But it's lost that fear factor.
Yeah, which of course can be advantageous to you as a club. I don't disagree with that. But, you know, you play half your games away from home as well, don't you? Yeah. So, you know, you can't put it all down to the stadium, and I don't think West Ham are for 1 minute. It's a fine balance getting it right in football. And if I knew what that ingredient was and I could bottle it, I would be worth a lot of money. You know, sometimes you need to get lucky. I've said it in the past. You know, do you want to be good or do you want to be lucky? Well, yes, you need to be good to get the job, but you really do need your fair share of luck. But I don't think a lot of the West Ham players have delivered this season as individuals, and certainly not collectively. So there's two parts of the game. Yes, as an individual, you have to do your job right, but collectively you do. And therefore, if the players aren't doing it right, who do you look to? You look to the coaching staff, and who heads the coaching staff? It's the head coach, the manager, it's Pellegrini. So he is the one who has to pay the price.
So you say that the problem is on West Ham as a club because they've had like Grant, they had Allardyce, they had Bilic, and none of them have worked out. Pellegrini's not working out. So what are they looking for exactly here in a manager?
I think you've got to go back and have a look at what is the vision of the board, the owners, what is their philosophy, where do they want to get? Otherwise, it just becomes this vicious circle once again, and the players having to go through new tactics, new formations, new systems under new managers. And sometimes it just, it's just a decline like that. If you haven't got the same vision in pulling in the right direction, I mean, I think Brighton have turned it around unbelievably. They've gone in and got somebody. They've gone and got a manager that fits their philosophy, not somebody that's going to come in and change it to how it does.
What is West Ham's philosophy then?
You tell me.
Yeah, I don't think anyone knows. The turnover of managers is unbelievable. And
it's just chopping and changing all the time.
But I think when that happens at a football club, that smacks of an ownership who are just happy to stay in the Premier League. They're just happy to stay there. They don't care if they come 70 or they really don't care. It's just about staying in the Premier League. And you can see the reaction tonight. They're not going to mess around. They've got rid of him. They're going to get someone in to make sure that happens.
If you stay in the Premier League, or you've stayed in the Premier League over the last 10 years, for example, as an owner of that club, your club is worth so much more money now because of the way football has gone. So, even if the football's not fantastic and you're struggling near the bottom, guess what? The new TV deal kicks in and the money flows in again. And I would suggest that the current owners of West Ham, if they wanted to get out now compared to what they bought it for, they've made themselves a fortune because of the way football has gone. And I'm not saying that that's their main interest, but I think there are more and more people owning football clubs for one main reason, and that is because they believe they can make money from it. And I
wouldn't be surprised if they've seen the reaction that Watford have just had under their new manager. A couple of good results, they might go, we better act now and do something about it, rather than sort their own issues out.
But it doesn't always work that way. It won't always work out that way. That's the thing. No. So, in your opinion, what kind of manager should West Ham be looking at, and who would fit that role, Gary?
At this precise moment in time, they need somebody who keeps them in the Premier League.
Just for the short term.
That's it. So, if you look back, they had David Moyes in. Okay, short-term contract. He kept them in the Premier League, and I think David Moyes strongly believed he was going to get a longer contract off the back of it. He didn't. They appointed Pellegrini. So David Moyes, I think, would do a great job to the end of the season. But I don't think he will come in and do it to the end of the season on the basis of how they treated him before. I think they could get David Moyes in if they thought he was the right man, but only if they offered him a 3-year contract, for example. And, that would be the dilemma that the West Ham board have.
Yeah. What kind of manager do you think they should get, Michael?
Dare I say it, Sam Allardyce?
Yeah, a firefighter.
A firefighter. So instead of going for the long-term contract like Gary's mentioned that Moyes would be after, I think the club would be more likely to go for a massive KPI for survival this season. And that's what I think they would cry out for and need at this moment in time. And Sam, I mean...
Why shouldn't they look long-term, though? Wouldn't that pay off a little bit better in the long run?
Well, first of all, you have to stay in the Premier League. That's where West Ham need to be at the end of this season, in the Premier League.
The board have got that long-term vision at this moment in time, so you just get somebody in that who's got a track record and proven. I mean, we talked about Pearson at Watford. He has got that track record, so he's done it at Championship, he's done it at Premier League, so dare I say it's Big Sam.
Big Sam for West Ham. What does this mean, though, for Pellegrini's career, then?
I don't think he's got anything to prove, really, has he? I mean, he's won the Premier League. He's a very well-respected manager and coach, and I think he'll take this on the chin. I think he's done the best he possibly can at what is a very unorthodox and unusual club.
Yeah, and by the way, hasn't he just come back from China to take the West Ham job? Whenever he came back, in recent months, as it were, or recent years, recent seasons, he's a wealthy man. Does he need another job?
Does he need another job?
I would say he's one of the older head coaches in the Premier League at the moment. But I guess when football's in your blood, it's in your blood. So
66 years old.
There you go.
He's young. Plenty of years ahead of him. And there'll be plenty of teams want him as their head coach.